thanks to the City of BRIMBANK across our neighbourhood and the world, Soul Dive with AD, Roshani and Lydia on BRIMBANK Live on Live FM.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Soul Dive. We are your hosts, Roshani, AD, and Lydia, and you're listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. Ladies, good morning. How are we?
Good morning. I have energy.
Fridays are literally my favorite days,
Yeah.
Catching up with you guys. It's like, I know it's on the screen, but it feels like a social event.
Yeah, it does.
I show up here looking all beat for you guys.
I know, you always come through.
You
today,
do.
You inspired me today. I actually had to drop my mom to work at 6:30, so I was up early.
You had time.
I had time, even though I logged in later than everyone today.
All good.
But yeah.
We're like in our bright colors. You probably can't hear or see at home if you're listening, but yeah, we are coming like bright colors. Like,
let's tell them Roshani. So Roshani's wearing yellow. I'm wearing green and blue. And AD's wearing, is that an orange peach?
It's orange, yes.
Okay,
I love it.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. Yeah. And it's weird because it's like December already. The year has flown by. We were talking about it just before off air. It's crazy this year and what it's been. But I guess the fact that we've made it through last month, like last little push, let's get to 2021 in one piece. But yeah, I'm really excited to wrap up the year and also delve into some great topics hopefully next year as well. That will be really, really, really fun. So on today's show, we are talking about body positivity and body inclusivity. And these are words that are kind of thrown around a lot. So we really want to unpack it all and have a discussion about what these words and these terms mean to us. And we'll also be delving into some myths as well, and hopefully bust some myths in relation to body positivity and inclusivity. I guess I want to start off by delving into, I guess, the world that we live in, and, sometimes living in the world based on race and gender and bodies, sometimes the status quo can be so large and so present that at times anything that deviates away from the status quo can really be seen as undesirable or something that's looked down upon or something that's questioned. And I know that we are kind of living in a time where people are trying to create resistance to that and trying to acknowledge the fact that the status quo isn't something that we should all really strive for. But I guess I want to start off with, why do we think that difference is deemed, undesirable, or in a way something that shouldn't be strived for, because there is this kind of status quo that is pushed and enforced onto us?
I really think that it's harder to go against the grain with anything in life, and that includes the body. So whatever the trend is at the time, what we see on TV, what we're pretty much told by the majority of society is what we go for. It's what is flooding our minds, and it's what we think is all right. So no one has to tell you specifically, but from everything you see around you, you automatically feel the need to be like everybody else. And if the movement is, slim, then you feel like that's what you need to be.
Exactly. I think it's literally just relating to what we see. It's what society tells us, and that's directly and indirectly. Media, there's certain things that we see, and we, I guess we consume that, and it kind of goes into our subconscious. And then I think you just see it everywhere, whether it's a thick body, whether it's big, a big chest, a big butt. We've seen the change over the years, and based off that change, that's then reflected everywhere you go. And then
subliminals, left, right, and center.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that sometimes when there is kind of that one stock standard of how people should look, or something that's in or trending or that's fashionable, it becomes really toxic when you think about how people's bodies are made, and how everybody's body just biologically has, we have different genes, so we have different ways in which our bodies will react or take to certain things. Our bodies can't just be molded sometimes into one particular way. And I think that it's strange that difference is actually normal when you think about it. The fact that we all have different body shapes and body sizes, like that is the norm, yet difference is seen as so shocking, particularly when you think about it, like if you see runway models and the way that they are generally perceived to be, and then there might be a designer that incorporates different body shapes and sizes, and suddenly it becomes something that is a spectacle. Like, people are suddenly like, wow, they're using quote unquote plus size models, or they're like changing it up. But why is that so shocking when difference is normal? If you walk out onto the street, we see so many different people in so many different shapes and sizes. So it becomes a bit of a weird thing when you think about, especially like the beauty industry and the fashion industry, and the way that they portray one particular style and one particular trend and one particular shape, when that is not reflective of society as a whole. And I think that we always talk about this being prominent, yet we always then follow particular trends, or I guess society follows particular trends.
And I think it also depends on culture, and I think we'll talk about that a lot more later. But trends also go according to culture. So there are some places that don't value the skinny girl. They value more the thicker girls and things like that. So if you go there and you're slim and you're outcasted,
literally.
So it's like, what the hell? But still, it's just a societal trend depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And because it's constantly changing, it's not a fixed thing. This is why it's problematic, because people are striving for something that is forever changing. And it's just unattainable, really, like for the most part.
I think along the lines of that as well, what people are doing to change their bodies. Like, I know that corsets are really in, or like it's kind of like
waist trainers, just literally
so
like
uncomfortable,
suffocating yourself. Just for
I feel like my organs would just be like scrunching.
Well,
like,
they low-key do
scrunch,
like, genuinely.
And that's the thing. It's like a lot of the things that are out there, like flat tummy tea and things like that, and they're quick fixes, or they're things that people jump on because they're hot right now, and celebrities are using it and endorsing those things as well. And then it becomes problematic because when all is said and done, and this trend of having the really flat tummy and the really like big hips then goes out of fashion, and something else comes in, like what do people do? How have people changed their bodies and potentially created damage, as we were just saying? I think that can be another factor to things as well that can be really problematic.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when back in the days, nobody wanted the big booty, they wanted the flat bums and straight body, and now everyone's all curvy and stuff by force. How do you reverse that?
Exactly.
Things switch up again.
And the thing is, like, emotionally and mentally, what does that do, especially for someone who has maybe grown up in a day and age where it was all about, like, the flat kind of the flat look and the flat chest, right? And then they've kind of had the naturally like big booty and naturally like curvier figure, and they've gone through those years of feeling out of place, and now suddenly people are trying to replicate what they naturally have when they have been kind of put down because of those things. It becomes really like mind-boggling, I think, to kind of follow trends, but also to jump on trends emotionally and mentally when you've kind of gone through that as well.
That's why it's completely unrealistic. Like all of this is unrealistic because you're chasing something that changes. And even though at one given point of time, we're always like advocating for a body type, you know what I mean? And so yes, you could argue that we're arguing for body positivity, but at the same time, it's like you're always leaving someone like behind. You're always leaving a portion of the society behind, because never at one given point is it cool and okay to be everything. Even though I would say that in today's culture, I'm seeing more of that sort of rhetoric, which is like, you work what you have. Do you know what I mean? Like all bodies are beautiful bodies, there's a range and they're all beautiful. But at the same time, there's still that thing where it's like, but something is in right now. And the majority are chasing that.
I'm also thinking about who gets to dictate what the trend is at the moment, because for a long time, the curvaceous body, the big behinds and stuff like that belonged to a different type of culture completely, that were deemed ugly, that were deemed unworthy. And now all of a sudden, I'm just going to say like the Black culture, where, with the curvier figures is what's in right now. So it's just like the hair thing or the cultural dress thing that we were talking about a few weeks back, where people don't want to be the person, but they want to take the trend or the style or the culture and make it their own. And that's when it's acceptable.
Yeah, I have a question about this, just to quickly divert slightly. Like, do you believe that having a curvy body is a Black thing? Because I don't know if it is. Like, isn't
it's
it
not
true?
that it wasn't, it's not that it's a Black thing, it's that it's more accepted in those societies. Like, it wasn't so accepted in the West per se.
Yeah,
Like
okay, I agree
the
with
Western
that, yeah.
trend was to be slim. Girls cried when you say you've got a fat ass type thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was like you tried to get away from it so bad. It was deemed ugly, and those body types were, although white women, there's a lot
Like
of them that
South
have curvy bodies.
Americans are known for having like really curvy bodies.
So like ethnically, it's more ethnically celebrated to have different kinds of body types and bigger kinds of body types, and it wasn't accepted so much here. But as soon as, white people say it's in now, it's in now.
It's in for, but really, why did it come in? Like, I want to talk about this too, because is it purely for sexual pleasure or for the guy? Like I don't know. I just feel like the whole curvy body thing kind of correlates to a preference relating to like almost sex or
sexualized.
like,
like the Kardashians.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think that like when we talk about like who decides these things, who decides what's in, I definitely think that systems have a lot to play, and also the patriarchy in kind of what is in, what is deemed. Yeah, I mean, like, like low key. Yeah, it's definitely something that, someone decides what is desirable, what is in, what they prefer. And then everyone has to almost mold themselves, mold their lives and mold their bodies to follow that. And I think that, there are kind of layers of that, particularly with beauty, trends and things like that. A lot of these companies are kind of almost like really male driven in terms of how people
find the words.
I'm trying to find the words. But, it is kind of like there'll be male CEOs of these companies that have a particular way of wanting, either women to look or thinking that this is a desirable way that like a woman should look. And then that becomes, a huge product that people just jump on, and people aren't really realizing like who's behind this product, what is the purpose of this product, and what is it doing, and what is someone using this product going to go through in order to kind of fit these trends. So I think that, go for it.
I also think that, like, I agree that maybe the patriarchy dictated this a bit more back in the days, but now with social media, and I believe that like society have much more of a say about what our culture is, because ultimately we create the content, we you know what I mean? And like, so I think that Instagrams, like social media, we've had the opportunity to really influence the culture, and I think that that's why we're seeing more appreciation for things that weren't so appreciated back in the days. I also think that the modeling industry plays a huge role in this conversation of body positivity, because it wasn't until recently that they started to really embrace, plus size models. Like you literally had to be thin, tall, and that's flat. It. Like, flat, absolutely flat. Yeah. Like, and so like, I think that I don't know what it took for the modeling industry to become a bit more open, accepting, but I definitely think that by it doing that, the trends change. Like,
And I think the modeling industry just realized that the majority of society does not fit that mold, that slim, tall, and flat mold, and that it is society that creates revenue, You know, you have to
Yeah,
please
that's what
the
I'm talking about.
people.
We
You
create
have
the
to,
revenue. Exactly.
make the money. So you have to please that part of society. And
And at the same time, you have the music culture, which is also influencing what's in, because especially in R&B, rap, like anything really, like you always have artists talking about you know, sex, relationships, love, all of these things, and naturally,
money,
yeah,
booty,
yeah.
more money,
A bit more booty if you have it.
Right.
But like, yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, I think music also plays a huge role in what is like deemed cool and what is deemed like beautiful.
Definitely art and culture, definitely. And anything that's out there, you know, whether that's like representation in movies or on the runway, it's really just like anything that somebody can really like consume is influencing and changing the way that people think about bodies, and particularly social media, because it is something that we have access to, and it's a platform that people can really put content and things out there. I definitely think that plays a part in how we think about bodies and how we think about other people's bodies and our own as well. If you are just tuning in, you're listening to Soul Dive with Roshani, AD and Lydia on Live FM's BRIMBANK Live. So speaking of social media and in the rise of social media, being able to see people's pages, see what people are sharing, and also being able to comment and critique on those as well, because you know, the more kind of openness that we have to sharing things, the more likely we're opening that up to critique and comment as well. But one thing that I think is really prominent is people's accessibility to do that, and people's willingness to do that. You know, there might be a page and you don't even know, but you have the power to comment or say anything. And I think that sometimes that also reflects in people's lives too, where people think that they can easily make comments or critique people's bodies in that way. And that's both positive and negative, you know, like you know, it takes the same amount, I mean, it doesn't take the same amount of energy, but like the same way that I could like critique and kind of put somebody down on social media, I can also send a comment to kind of build them up and hype them up. So I think that when it comes to bodies and commenting on bodies, particularly people's body weight, whether it's deemed a positive or a negative comment, do you feel comfortable in commenting on people's weight?
Yo, okay. As an African, I think, or I don't know if other ethnic backgrounds relate to this, but it's very open. Like it was very normal for a family member of mine to be like, you know, Dubanesh, you're a bit chubby, or like when I went, they'll just tell you you're fat, or when I went to Ethiopia, it's like, I mean, they also do relate weight to like richness and happiness, but at the same time, you know, it's just so common. And I think I recall it being a shock to my system, because I remember in this society, it's a very hush-hush thing. You don't comment on people's weight. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not that openly.
Not openly, especially not in person, right? Like you have keyboard warriors, cool, but it's not something that people really talk about. So I would say that I definitely don't, because I've been raised in this society, and this society has shaped me to be politically correct in that way. But I wouldn't even want to comment on someone's body anyway, because why? You know what I mean?
I only comment positive things. You know, if someone's looking good, I'm a big believer in hyping people up, even if you don't know them. You know, if you see someone walking down the street and they've got something on that's nice, why not be like, hey, you look really nice, or you know, nice dress, because you never know whose day you can make by just being honest. And I feel like a lot of girls choose to tear each other down, and that's because of their own insecurities, you know, or they feel threatened or something like that. So they just choose not to say anything, or start automatically feeling bad about themselves that they don't compare, instead of just being like, wow, you look great, and keep it moving, and to continue striving to look your best without having to feel jealous or threatened, or down about somebody else and how they look. So I'm a strong believer in hyping people up. And if you've got nothing nice to say nothing at all. Damn.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
that jealousy would only really stem from the body parts or that they can't attain. Do you know what I mean? Because if society's telling you that big boobs look good and you have an A cup size, you're just gonna feel salty wherever you go, until you don't get that boob job if you do. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it still stems from what society is feeding us, because I don't think many people would be going out of their way to comment on people's bodies if they weren't insecure about theirs. It's just one of those things that I don't really feel would be an attack if there wasn't, an attack from elsewhere, which is, so.
Yeah, I definitely think that, being body focused can also result in you perhaps projecting particular insecurities that you may have about your body onto other people. And I know that sometimes there are people that really do feel comfortable talking about people's bodies in that way and commenting on things that might kind of cross a particular line. Definitely what AD was saying about hyping people up, commenting on people's looks, people's outfits, and making them feel good in that way is definitely something that I absolutely advocate for, and I'm all about it. But when it comes to people, commenting on weight, and it definitely is a culture thing as well, because I come from a culture where people don't hesitate in
Exactly
on people's either weight loss or weight gain, or just like how people look. And it's something that I kind of am not about, and I'm just like, no, you can't say that. Like you don't know what somebody is going through, like, and particularly like when some people think that it's a compliment to if someone has lost weight.
Yes. I want to talk about this.
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Because like when somebody looks like they've lost weight, people automatically think
onto it. They have confidence to comment on it. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. They think it's a positive thing because they're like, oh, you've lost weight. You must have wanted to lose that weight and you must feel like good. But the thing is, like, when you're doing that, like I know people do that to me where they'll be like, oh, you've lost so weight. You're looking so slim. And I lose weight when I'm stressed. So
right, exactly. So
don't be complimenting me because
I'm falling apart.
I know. Like, I don't understand why people just assume that that's a positive thing. And also people have like medical conditions as well where their weight fluctuates. So when somebody loses weight, that doesn't necessarily mean that they've wanted to lose that weight or that it's something that they have strived for. So I always like, whether somebody's like, going one way and calling somebody out because they've put on weight, I definitely even wouldn't go the other way either. Comment, and
unless you know that person has intentionally tried to lose weight or whatever it is. I mean, to be fair, sometimes when someone starts off quite big and then they've lost weight, sometimes intuitively people might feel as if they did it with intention and you know what I mean, sort of thing. But at the same time, you're right, like we shouldn't really lead with that assumption. And just by doing that, you're really showing what society has done to us,
Yeah. And then like, where are we placing worth with them? Is it in that weight loss? Particularly like when I think of like Adele, when she came out with that picture and she had lost a lot of weight, and people were then jumping on the bandwagon of being like, she looks even more beautiful now, or like she looks great now, but it's like, but she looked great before too. And where are we placing this prominence and this worth? And
not even great. A lot of people were like, oh, she's gone too skinny, she's not looking good. And it's just like, oh, when am I gonna win?
Yeah.
God damn it.
And this is why, like, I guess we'll get there, but we don't push for people to achieve the best body that they can like achieve. Do you know what I mean? I don't see a lot of I don't see much about us striving for health, you know what I mean? Like, we're not even I just don't see that around anymore. We're striving for a look rather than to feel a certain way and for our body to actually feel a certain way. We all have different body shapes. I know people who might on the surface appear to be a touch big but actually so fit and healthy, you know what I mean, because of their body type, because of their bones, whatever it is. But I'm just like, this conversation needs to shift in society, and that needs to be, you need to get to your healthiest level, and for you that might actually be a slimmer body than a thicker one. You know what I mean?
And vice versa.
Of course,
definitely. And hopefully we're going to shift that conversation after the break. You're listening to Soul Dive with Roshani, Lydia and AD on Live FM's BRIMBANK Live. Welcome back to Soul Dive. I'm your host, Roshani, joined by AD and Lydia on Live FM's BRIMBANK Live. On today's show, we are chatting all things body inclusivity and positivity. And just before the break, we were having a discussion about why, particularly when people change their bodies or lose weight, people think that, it's a complimentary thing and it is a positive thing. And also just the backlash that can sometimes still come from that, either being too skinny or too slim. And it's something that conjured a lot of discussion during the break between us about, how people can sometimes enforce and push things on you, particularly if you are slimmer. And I know that we talk about body positivity and talk about different body shapes, and being slim is a particular body shape that I know slim people also cop a lot of flack for, I guess, being slim and being told to eat a cheeseburger or be told to eat more. And that's something for me personally, I have always kind of experienced, and it is something that really upsets me. And I feel like I'm not valid in being upset about it, because I'm like, there are probably people that feel even more like they're not represented, or they're struggling even more with their body. So I don't have a
there's
right,
a spectrum, but you do have a right,
yeah,
completely valid in
definitely. And I think that, like, for me, particularly growing up, I guess, like, in the Sri Lankan culture, and we were talking about, like, particular ethnic groups, or just culturally, sometimes the slim body isn't deemed ideal, and there are people that are curvy, and there are some cultures that kind of lean towards that being like their definition of beauty. And I always, even from family members and like aunties, it's always like, oh, you're so skinny, or oh, you've lost a little more weight. And I don't intend for that to happen. And I eat a lot. I've never dieted in my life. I don't really exercise, but I am someone who is active. And the more I eat, it doesn't mean that I gain weight. And there are times that it can actually then turn into toxic kind of behavior, because when I'm at a family gathering, I try to eat even more than what I do, just to prove, like, here I am, I'm eating, I'm like, and so it's like, why is it that people's bodies are subjected in a particular way? Like, I'm more than my body, and I'm eating healthy. I don't do anything that is unhealthy to my body, yet for some reason, people think it's okay to tell me that I'm too skinny, or, I'm too slim, or I've lost weight, even though it wasn't an intended thing. I think that, sometimes people can just see bodies as something to comment on, rather than actually thinking about, who is within that body, and who that person is beyond their body. So I definitely think that that's the thing. AD and Lydia, do you have any thoughts in relation to, I guess, how people think about small or slim people?
I think there's a bit of confusion in society, or maybe it's just not clear, like, as to what is healthy, like, and it's not hard to believe when, like, everywhere you look, you're being encouraged to have a sweetener instead of sugar, to mask. Do you know what I mean? Because people don't realize, like, sweeteners is very much linked to certain, like, I think it's dementia, or certain brain related like problems down the track, because it's got this chemical in it called, like, aspartame or something like that. It's really bad for you. Do you know what I mean? And we're doing this all to avoid a calorie or some calories. So I think that it really starts from there. Like, does society, or does the system really value advocating for, like, what it really means to be healthy? Is it really teaching us to be healthy to begin with? Do you know what I mean? And because we don't have a clear understanding of what it means to be healthy, I think people are just holding on to anything, because I feel like like, it's purely about look. It's about look, and we're masking everything, so we don't know what people are consuming. I really clocked this when I was younger, and I had a really close friend in primary school who was really thin, and I used to hang out with her a lot outside of school. When we would be at the house, my house, her house, she would eat a lot. Like, I would watch this girl just smash the junk food. Do you know what I mean? Like chips, chocolate, lollies. And I learned from a very early age, my body can't afford to overindulge. Like, I will gain weight. It happens quite quickly, unfortunately. But for her, it didn't. And I'm like, that's when I recognize, oh, okay, something's different here. Like we could be consuming the exact same thing, but at the end of the day, what's going to happen is different, right? So it's like, as a result, I took from that it like my appearance doesn't correlate to how healthy I am. And I think that because that's not the case, we don't pick out like who is healthy. Do you know what I mean? We can't tell who's healthy. And as a result, we just project.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that you go for it, AD.
I was going to say to Lydia, the short answer of does society advocate for health is no.
Yeah, no.
Like you said, they advocate for the look, not for the feeling. And with the whole being slimmer thing, I've had my moments. So, I've been on the heavier side and then I've lost a whole bunch of weight. I've never been like flat tummied or anything. But even just losing that weight, people start getting concerned. Like my family's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Like, are you going through stuff? Why have you lost all this weight? I'm like, because you've been telling me I'm fat for like how long? I start doing something about it. And now you're disgusted by my, my bones showing. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, exactly. And when look at that, when you were doing it intentionally, it's an issue. When someone does it unintentionally, it's an issue. We're constantly projecting because we can't all achieve the one thing, and society at one given point in time tells us to strive for one thing. So you just have a bunch of people that don't even know what's going on.
No.
Right. And I feel like it becomes a thing just to say, and I feel like people are just saying it. And it happened where someone was like, oh, you've lost a lot of weight. And I was literally like to my mum, I'm like, have I actually lost weight, or do people just say that for something to say? Like, I feel that it's very easy to comment on people's bodies, but without knowing the ramifications that come with those comments. Because, it really makes you think long and hard. And someone could have just said it as a past, but suddenly
it's a regurgitated comment. You're right. Like, people don't necessarily. Yeah,
like, nice shoes. You've lost weight. And it's like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. I think also what you were saying, Lydia, about striving for being healthy rather than striving to look a particular way. The actual reality of it is the fact that there is no one way to look healthy. Healthy looks different in different body shapes and different body types. So I think that sometimes if we're striving for healthiness, we think that healthy looks a particular way. We see on Instagram people who really work out and eat healthy, and we think, okay, that's what healthy looks like. But healthy doesn't look one way. And I think that sometimes we're all conditioned to think it looks one way, so that, where it is more larger or more bigger built, people assume, well, you're not healthy. But healthy doesn't look like a person be treating their body right, eating the right food, and that at the end of the day, as well as how they feel, that is what makes somebody healthy. Actually,
do you guys believe that we're shying away from like telling society to be healthy, like as a whole? Because I really do. I think that we don't, like, I personally think that, okay, on trend right now, would you guys agree that it's trendy to be thick? Like, to be, actually have a bit like fat, you know what I mean? Like, to be not just curvy, but thick.
Yeah. I would say that the trend of what is seen as like desirable right now is that kind of thicker body type. But what I will say in terms of like, does society want us to actually feel good in our bodies and kind of strive for healthiness? The reason why, and going back to all of those products and all of those things that create the money, society wants us to always strive for something that we're not. That's kind of what society is based on. So the reason why they have all of these products is because they want us to continue putting our money into products that are going to continue to change our body. We're always kind of striving for something we can't have. And I think that, in the world of capitalism. It's like they want us to continue to consume. And if we're happy with our bodies, we're not consuming those products because we don't need those products. We're happy.
Exercising.
Exactly. So I think that is definitely, systems have a part to play in that as well. AD.
I kind of forgot the question. I was just so wrapped up in Roshani's,
monologue.
I was like, yes. that I forgot what I was even going to say. So
I think I could spark your memory.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I said, like, I was asking that question of what do we think is in. So I was bringing up this conversation about the thickness because I have something to say to that.
Okay, yeah, I'm back.
Of course, you go, girl.
What it was it's an unrealistic kind of thickness. Do you get what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
for you to be curvy, it's only natural that you might have a bit of body, a bit of tummy or some cellulite, or some chunky arms or something. But the kind of thick that society says it's that kind of fake thick that you put together in the plastic surgery room.
That's what I'm saying.
You slap on a butt, you've got a flat tummy, you've got a chest, you've got really skinny arms,
waist is
really
snatched.
skinny legs.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to go to the gym back in the days with this guy that was like with this guy that was gaining weight. He was a friend. And he used to just build up. So I started doing heaps and heaps of weights. And I'm a chunky girl. I'm like, I should be doing cardio. And I ended up looking so weird. Like I had, biceps going. I had a tummy that was still there. I had really rock hard, legs, really awesome legs. And I was just
really awesome.
Really awesome legs. And then I had,
I love it.
With my, arm. It was just very abnormal.
But they do say that muscle training is good for weight loss. So I'm sure that you were onto something, AD.
Definitely. You need a combination though, and you have to, depending on your body, you have to work towards what your body needs. So if it's more cardio, then cardio. If it's weightlifting, then it's weightlifting. But when you just kind of crisscross over and you don't know what works for you, and most of society doesn't know what works for you, they just go with the flow. And then it doesn't really work out, and you're like, what? I've been working so hard. Why aren't I, the same as the models on TV that I've been doing this kind of work?
And the thing is, right, some of us can, so if we're striving to be thick, right, some of us can eat and then your weight will naturally go to your thighs and those areas. For others, it'll literally just go to your stomach and your chest, like me, so it's like, that's unattainable. You know what I mean? And also in the process of striving for thickness, are people overeating? Are people stressing their organs? Are people what are people doing to actually get to that point?
Fire hydrants, lots of booty work.
Yeah.
and sit-ups.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Soul Dive with Roshani, AD, and Lydia on Live FM's BRIMBANK Live. I definitely do agree that I guess the way that we change our body, it's different for everybody, and we kind of need to think about our bodies as the body that we need to work on, rather than thinking about, okay, that's what that person is doing, that's the training that they're doing, I should do that training too, because your body is going to react completely differently.
Exactly.
And I think that kind of what you were touching on, AD, and the way that I guess you were kind of exercising and doing those things and your body was changing. In terms of I guess opening it up to all of us, what kind of standards have we had to navigate, I guess, personally? And that's I guess the cultural standards that we have coming from different cultures, but also living in the Western society. So there's kind of different clashing ideas of what is deemed beautiful and the beauty standards within both our cultures, I guess the Australian culture and the cultures we come from. So I guess what do these standards look like, and how has it been for you navigating these in your personal journeys?
For me personally, let's take it all the way back to primary school, because we become conscious of our bodies and how we're positioned in our social environment from a young age. And I recall because I was raised in a very sort of white area, or a Caucasian area, and I would say that in my experience was that I developed a chest at a very young age, because I have a big chest, and people around me didn't have that. So it kind of felt I just felt different, and I felt like people around me didn't necessarily have the range to even appreciate that or to even understand that. And at the time it was probably, it was probably just cooler to be I don't know if it was cooler to be flat chested. I just think that in combination with my blackness was something that I felt, wasn't really appreciated. Yeah, I definitely don't think I fit into the beauty standards when I was younger. I think that there's been a shift in the culture, and I think that, you know, much more now, but back in the days, I definitely felt different and a bit out of place. I know that I have friends who have a big behind, like a big butt, you know, and they definitely have experienced a lot regarding that in primary school, because like we know, that wasn't necessarily admired a long time ago. And yeah, and I would also say that younger kids wouldn't necessarily naturally admire a big butt, because once again, taking it back to what I said before, I still think that the admiration for that is purely, it's not purely, but you know, it's a bit
sexualization.
It's a sexual, exactly. Yeah. So my experience was just that I just had to understand, like I understood from an early age, because I did a lot of sport, that, you know, health is other things, that, you know, like eating veggies, eating a good diet, and then also exercising. I saw the fruits of that because I was a very sporty kid. And then what happened to me is, like, I stopped sport because I did gymnastics for like 7 years when I was younger. Stopped sport. And I ate a lot when I was a kid. Dad used to feed me and my sister a lot because we actually did a lot of sport. And I had a big appetite as a result. And that didn't change once I stopped sport. And so now I'm gaining weight at like 16, 17. Then I get my license. And it was game over, because me and my best friend, who live around the corner from each other, we used to hang out a lot at night, go for drives, whatever. And that meant, let's just slide through KFC, you know, let's just go through Macca's sort of thing. And before you know it, I've gained weight. And then I just, like, I had to do the work, basically. I had to accept that, like, I just want to strive for the best body that I can actually personally achieve. And I realized that my way of doing that is genuinely just eating healthy, drinking water, exercising, and my body just like, I just feel, I feel good, you know what I mean? And then I emulate that. And I think body positivity is also tied into what you emulate. I think that this is a thing, because the reason being bigger is praise is because you have big women coming on the internet and saying, this is who I am, like, I'm beautiful. And as a result, people are more like have embraced that more. And you know what I mean? It's just been a bit of a back and forth thing. But yeah, I truly believe that if we continue to, like, I did clock that earlier. I'm like, I'm not going to try and strive to be in accordance with the status quo, because then I'm constantly going to be striving for something different. And that's just unattainable. So absolutely.
We are going to head to a quick break. We will be back soon. You're listening to Soul Dive with Roshani, AD and Lydia on Live FM's BRIMBANK Live. Welcome back to Soul Dive. You are listening to BRIMBANK Live on Live FM. And we're here talking all things body positivity and inclusivity. And Lydia kind of shared her story and her journey, I guess, in, you know, understanding her body, growing up in primary school, and kind of dealing with what society is kind of pushing and enforcing. So thank you, Lydia. That was really beautiful, and thank you for sharing. AD, did you want to kind of give us a lowdown of how your personal journey has been in terms of body positivity?
Yeah, for me, it's been a very split situation. So I came to Australia quite young, and I've been surrounded by the white standard of beauty, of being skinny. And then, you know, my African background, where the thick madams is what's desirable, the big behinds, the big chests. Nobody minds a bit of tummy, so it's cool. But then I didn't fit any standard of beauty. Like, I've never been a skinny girl, and a lot of people from my country are either tall and skinny and you know, model-like, or the curvaceous, you know, big behind type thing. So I've never been a skinny girl.
Yeah.
And I've had this issue where, you know, I don't feel like, you know, my curvaceousness is that standard of beauty where I've got this big behind and stuff like that. So I've always been self-conscious of trying to fit in that regard. And I had a close friend, let's say, back in the days, who used to call me cutie with no booty. And that, although it was a ha-ha moment, really affected me, you know, it really, really affected me. And I'm like,
hey, don't worry, I'm on that team. Little booties matter. Little booties.
So sad. But that's So it's always been a struggle of trying to fit in. And it's like, what is beautiful?
Yeah.
Should I be losing a whole bunch of weight? Should I be trying to gain weight? Like where do I fit in? And then watching TV and seeing like the Kardashians, who are curvaceous but also slim somehow, and you're like, what?
They're slim thick.
Yeah.
Because they're slim, but then they've got the work done. You know what I mean? On their body.
Exactly. So it's like an unrealistic standard of beauty. But I just told myself at the end of the day, I'm like, if I never get skinny and I don't fit in this society, I'm just gonna go over somewhere where I appreciate, chunkier girls and just eat my life away and be happy and be loved.
Or just start your own society, AD.
Exactly.
AD
Chunky
society.
without a booty.
Chunky without a booty. Not twerking in that society, because when you twerk, you need a booty.
I use my shoulders usually, and that gets me right through.
Wait, is that the correlation with you saying that you can't twerk and you saying that like you also have like a small booty? Is that why you feel like you can't really?
Well, the thing is, like people like, what, you've got something, and I was like, no, I don't, because I got told back in the days. So now I just don't believe it, even if it is there.
So your subjective, your objective, judgment has been affected.
Yeah, and that's the thing, yeah, and most of us are our biggest critics,
Exactly.
So whoever that sees us as beautiful, you might not feel the same way about yourself because, society did get to you, type thing. So, I'm sure a lot of people out there would be like, you've got plenty of behind. I'm like, no, I don't. I got told I was a cutie with no booty. Type thing. With the twerking thing, I tried really hard. I practiced.
It's the shoulders. It's all in the shoulders, baby.
She practices.
Hasn't worked out for me. So I'm like, you know what? I'll leave it to other people. I'll just be outside the circle, cheering people on.
You're just hyping them up.
Get low.
And do the hands,
You're the hands girl, yeah.
Yeah, I just use my upper body to bust a move. I don't advertise my lower half in case, someone pops back out and be like, where's your booty?
Yeah, where is that?
Get the binoculars out.
That's me. Like I said, guys, hashtag little booties matter. Exactly. And that's the thing, culturally, we need to strive for body positivity as well, not just in the Western society, but in our own different cultures. Roshani, you said when people call you skinny, it offends you, type thing. And for us in our culture, although bigger bodies are admired, there's still commentary. You're too fat. Now you've lost too much weight. Now you're so big. So what is perfect? Nobody will ever know.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not have said it better myself, AD. If you are just tuning in, you're listening to Soul Dive with Roshani, AD, and Lydia on Live FM's BRIMBANK Live. Ladies, we're going to delve into some myths. So the first myth in relation to body positivity and inclusivity is the term plus size is offensive. That's something that is kind of thrown out there. Some people use that term and some people absolutely do not use it and find it offensive. What's your take on it?
Well, I really think that the term plus size is just a way of othering, So what else is there? Normal size and then plus size? You know what I mean?
Relative to what is it?
Exactly.
Plus size?
It's implying something.
So I don't want to say that it is offensive, but it can definitely go down that route. A lot of people don't mind saying I'm plus size because, it is what it is. But I think it's just a way of othering. So I'd much prefer to not use it.
I think they did that because back in the days they didn't really cater to bigger women or bigger people, and when they started to actually cater to those sizes, they kind of categorized it, you know what I mean? We're bringing in this, do you remember City, City Chic? Chic, it's a plus size store, and then other big brands started to have plus size models, and they just started to call it that because alongside that happening was this body positivity movement, which was saying that it's okay and beautiful to be bigger, to be a plus size. So I actually think that some people probably might be offended, but I also feel like other people might actually be like
Yeah.
appreciative of the fact
Yeah.
that there's even a presence. But yeah, the titles, there's definitely something to be said about the title. It's like, why can't it just be a size?
Yeah, exactly. Just
Yeah.
another size. Like,
Just another size.
I
Yeah.
definitely think it's dependent on who's using it. And I know that there are some people who want to claim that term and call themselves plus size. But yeah, when it's used as a way to other a particular group of people, I think that does become problematic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The second one, diverse body representation promotes unhealthy lifestyles and obesity, etc. Now, this one is especially like with Lizzo, you know, on Instagram and her posting her amazing posts. People tend to kind of jump on this and, you know, say that you're promoting unhealthy lifestyles and obesity. What do we think?
Yeah, I have something to say about this. Like, honestly speaking, I think that Lizzo's amazing. Lizzo's beautiful. Lizzo is objectively overweight, right? And I think that my question is, so long as she is healthy objectively, I'm happy for her. But I still think that we can't shy away from, you know, encouraging people to be healthy just in the attempt to make them feel good in their present body. Do you know what I mean?
She took a photo saying, what, you know, on an exercise bike, and she said, "I've been working out for 5 years." Like, that's what people don't know, that she's been on a health trend. She's feels healthy because she's been working out.
But they say like that exercise is 20%. Like, what is she eating though? That's the 80% at the end of the day. And so I still think that the wrong message can sometimes, we risk sending the wrong message when we say that this is perfect. I've achieved perfection, because we still need to preserve our bodies. Do you know what I mean? Like, our bodies need to be fed in a certain way. You know, we can easily get sick down the track if we don't look after it now. So it's like, I just think that, you know, through this movement, we're also sending like some messages sometimes. And yeah, it's problematic. Like, when we need more conversation about, are you eating healthy? Regardless of what you look like, do you have a healthy diet? You know?
I do hear what you're saying, Lydia. But it also goes back to that thing of one body type doesn't equal healthy. So I think that people are so conditioned to see a very slim looking person being that healthy type person. So when they look at someone like Lizzo, they're like, well, you're not healthy. Like, it's just like, it's like a no-go kind of thing, when, you know, as you were saying, like, she does work out, and, you know, even if she did kind of eat healthily, people would still kind of put that out there as, no, you're not healthy because you're not you don't fit the mold of that kind of slim skinny person. Because
I believe that Lizzo would be slightly thinner if she had a different diet. Now, I don't know what she actually eats, but I'm of the opinion that everyone is, you escape being like really big when, like, yes, we have different body shapes, and some can be bigger at their healthiest, but I still think that there's a threshold. Like, there's, do you know what I mean? Like, beyond that, you're still like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, definitely. Yeah, because at the end of the day,
I just don't want to overly praise her, because
looks a certain way, but not the same type of way as everybody else.
As the other healthy person. Exactly.
Yeah, that's like for me, when I'm at my healthiest and I work out like crazy and I'm eating better and I'm losing all this weight, my stomach has never left me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It expands or it shrinks, but it's never left me. It's always been my companion. And so when someone sees me and they're like, you're bigger, and I'm like, I'm literally so healthy. I can outrun you. Like, I can out push up you. Like, what? Type thing. So it is different for everyone.
Absolutely.
And I think it's all about where your mentals is. Like, if you're genuinely comfortable in yourself, you automatically start wanting to eat better. You automatically want to start exercising.
Exactly.
It just happens naturally, type thing. But it's that societal pressure telling you how you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be it. That throws people off kilter.
The actual look of a body can be deceiving, because there might be someone that looks definitely like someone who is healthy, but they may not be. And the last one before we wrap up really quickly, being body positive means you love your body 24/7.
No, I like my, like, from my chest up and from my waist down.
There's conditions.
Body positive.
It's not everything, and it's not all the time. You're always constantly working. You might have bits that you love, and there are bits that you'd like to work on. So no, absolutely.
Yeah,
not.
I think for example, right now in 2020, I've been very body positive, but that doesn't mean that at different points of this year, I haven't been striving for a different body. It just means that I appreciate that I have a journey, I have intention, and I'm following through, sort of thing. So I'm positive as a result because I understand myself and I've accepted that it is within my power to make the changes that I want to see for myself personally. So being body positive doesn't mean that you have to be happy in your current state, but it means that you know that ultimately there's some things that are out of your control and some that aren't, and you can work towards the ones that are in your control and try and be happy 24/7 with the things that aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, acceptance and I guess being body neutral in understanding that you accept certain parts and there may be some bits that you may not like, and that's natural. Yeah. Ladies, thank you so much for this conversation, and thank you everyone for listening and joining us. We'll be back next week with another show of Soul Dive with Roshani, AD and Lydia on Live FM's BRIMBANK Live. Have an amazing week, everybody.
Bye.
With thanks to the City of Brimbank across our neighbourhood and the world, Soul Dive with AD, Roshani and Lydia on BRIMBANK Live on Live FM.